Welcome back to the Dizzy Diaries, the podcast where science meets sparkle and everyone here gets a little dizzy when they stand up. I'm Tové, an exercise physiologist, chronic illness advocate, and your guide through all things dysautonomia and POTS. As always, this podcast is designed to help you understand your body a little bit better, but it's not a substitute for medical advice. Today we're talking about one of the most misunderstood yet most essential parts of managing dysautonomia and chronic illness, which is pacing. I want to dive into the topic a little bit more because we see so much about it on social media. There are incredible apps that we can use to actually track this, as well as different tools like heart rate devices, different armbands or watches, and rings as well that help you pace a little bit better. Essentially, I want to talk through the science, but also understanding why pacing is important, and it shouldn't feel like you're giving anything up. You're just learning how your body works a little bit better and actually implementing that going forward so that you can thrive and not just feel like you're surviving. In reality, it's one of the most powerful tools that we can use to regain stability, function, and confidence, and it's not about doing less, it's about doing smart. When you live with a chronic condition, or dysautonomia or POTS depending on what you're struggling with, your body doesn't always respond to effort the way that a healthy body does. Overdoing it, even something small like standing for too long, walking too far, standing doing the dishes, or staying up too late, can lead to what's called post-exertional symptoms or a post-exertional crash. This happens because your autonomic nervous system, which manages things like heart rate, blood pressure, and temperature regulation, can't quite keep up with the demand. Your heart may start racing, blood pools in your legs, and your oxygen delivery can dip. Your body essentially goes into survival mode when you're doing things that the average person might find pretty easy. That's why pacing isn't lazy, it's strategic physiology. When I first started learning to pace, I had to let go of the all or nothing mindset. I used to think if I can't do my full workout, why bother? But over time, I realized that gentle consistency is far more effective than sporadic bursts followed by days of recovery. And I use the example of exercise, but this can apply to mental tasks, things around the house, social engagements. The concept of pacing can be applied to all different assets of your life, and you just need to see where you need to give, take, or balance. Science backs this up too. A 2021 review in the Frontiers of Physiology journal highlighted how pacing and graded activity can improve autonomic stability, lower heart rate variability, and help individuals build sustainable endurance without worsening symptoms. I have a couple of clients who have worked with specialists in pacing, activity management, and they've seen incredible changes just by having someone advise them, look at the trends throughout their week and say, well, actually here you might have pushed yourself a little bit too much. How do we do that better going forward? And just utilizing tools to understand how we can do this better and better every day, every week, every month. And as I say, there are people who specialize in this, and if you work one-to-one with someone like me, an exercise physiologist or a coach or someone who knows about chronic illnesses, they'll probably dive into this a lot more specifically. But today we're going to do a general overview. So let's talk about where we start and look at a couple of tools. The first one is symptom tracking, keeping a short log of how your body responds each day to different activities. You can note things like dizziness levels, fatigue, and what activities you did. In this activity log, you can have it on your phone. There are a couple of apps that you can use, or you can have it written down as a journal, just depends what you prefer. You can also track simple things like what you ate, because we know that the gastro influence is very big with people with chronic illnesses. So it might be a combination of the trend of something you ate, what you ate, when you ate it, as well as the activity that you did, the people that you saw, was it outdoors, indoors? And over time, you'll start to see patterns. Maybe you do better with morning movement or need rest days after busy social events. The second tool is heart rate monitoring. We want to be very careful with this and again use it as a tool. I don't want someone to be sitting all the time watching their heart rate, because it can become a little bit obsessive and can cause a little bit more health anxiety if you're constantly monitoring it. So we need to use it as a tool and use it smartly. For people with POTS, monitoring your heart rate can help you stay in your safe zone, and you'll have to figure out based on your recordings and diary logs what that is for you. A general guideline is to exercise below the threshold that triggers your significant symptoms. This is often around 60 to 75% of your maximum heart rate. You can use a watch, chest strap, or even a rating of perceived exertion to gauge your effort. I say 60 to 75% because that's usually the range at which we can get a couple of tolerance improvements when we're working at that level, but your 60 to 75% of your heart rate will be individual based on your age, and then we can pace it back from there. So 60 to 75 might be too challenging now, and it might be a goal for you to work towards. If you can manage 50%, let's work within that range and just start where you are and gradually try build it up about 5 to 10% every week. The third tool is a pacing schedule. This means alternating activity with intentional rest before you crash. So, for example, instead of doing laundry, cleaning, and cooking in one go, try breaking it up into mini sessions with sitting or recumbent breaks in between, maybe some gentle breathing, and just manage it a little bit better. The real challenge often comes in realizing that pacing isn't just physical. I can give you all the tricks in the book, but it's mental too, because pacing means accepting your current limits while believing they can still expand over time. And expansion will be individual. You'll have weeks that you're having changes, building up your tolerance. You'll have weeks that you need to scale things back, and you'll have weeks where there are no changes, positive, negative, middle, and that's also fine. The goal is to change our thoughts a little bit more, to redirect movement as something that's positive for the body. It helps the cardiovascular system, it helps the nervous system, it helps your joints, it helps your bone health, and it just helps regulate everything really well. And you're thinking about yourself in 10, 20, 30 years. What are we doing now in order to help my future self and my present self? So try think about movement as a tool and something positive rather than needing to achieve set targets. All of these tools take a bit of time, a bit of practice, and a lot of compassion. You're not lazy for resting. You're not weak for saying no. You're wise enough to understand your body's language, and that in itself is strength. Some days, pacing will look like taking a break after standing for too long. Other days, it might mean celebrating the small win of unloading the dishwasher without a full crash afterwards. Both matter, and both count. As I often tell my clients, pacing isn't the pause before progress, it is progress. So if you're currently in a flare, or you have a flare that comes up, or you've had one previously, just remember, every small act of listening to your body helps you to rebuild trust in it. And over time, that trust becomes function. You're not quitting, you're recalibrating. Thank you so much for tuning into the Dizzy Diaries. I hope today's episode helps you see pacing in a new light, not as restriction, but as self-preservation with purpose. If you found this helpful, please share it with someone who might need a little encouragement today, and don't forget to subscribe for more science, stories, and sparkle. Until next time, stay gentle with yourself, and of course, stay sparkly.